So as a part of that Washington, D.C. experience I highlighted, there was one young man in particular who just was very, very exuberant, very, very positive and upbeat, lots of energy, very, very insightful. He already introduced himself, but I'm going to reintroduce him because this brother is really on the front of this major initiative, and we're absolutely excited that he would be here with us this morning. So let's hear from Mr. Mike Mcafee, Director of Promise Neighborhoods Institute at Policy Link. Michael Mcafee, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to first say that it is really an honor to be here. And it's an honor to be here because Black family development represents what Promise Neighborhoods is all about in terms of really galvanizing the community to extend the practice that has really been going on for the past 40 plus years in our communities. And that is to try to reverse the cycle of generational poverty in our neighborhoods. And we now are at a pivotal moment in our history where we really have folks in Congress and the White House that are listening to us around a couple of core issues. So I'm going to lift those up, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the day listening and participating. The first big opportunity is that Promise Neighborhoods is one of the cornerstones of the White House's Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. So while it is not a federally authorized program yet, it is one of their cornerstone programs and policies that they're working to push forward. That's a big deal that we have the support of the White House. But it's also a big deal that we're getting greater support from Congress now, in that we've gone from 10 million in 2010 to 60 million now that is available for communities. And we're not a federally authorized program, and we've been doing this in this environment. And that speaks to the power of the network that is doing the heavy lift to tell the stories of what's going on in the planning years, to talk about the strong results framework of Promise Neighborhoods, and doing so in a way that is at best neutralizing our opposition and allowing us to bring folks over to this side of the work. And so that's exciting that even in this time, we're able to continue to generate the support that we need to make sure this program is successful. And here's why it's important that this program is successful. If you go back and if you haven't read, I would recommend that you read Voices from the Field 3. Because Voices from the Field 3 by the Aspen Institute is a good extension of where the field has gone and where it currently is. And it lays out some challenges for going forward. And the reason why that's so important is because Promise Neighborhoods gives us a chance to move the field forward in a couple of ways. We've asked for substantive long-term funding instead of having funding for a year or two and then it disappears. We've asked folks to stop asking us to change the world with $25,000 grants, but really give us the support that we need, right? We've asked folks to fund folks who have the authority and responsibility for results, and we have that now. And so Promise Neighborhoods is a reflection of what the field has said we need to really do this work. Give us the funding, large amounts of funding, over a period of time, hold us accountable for delivering on the results, and then provide us the air cover that we need to get the work done. That's what Promise Neighborhoods is providing to the field right now. The resources to do this work in substantive ways, $500,000 for the planning year, and then up to $5 million for multiple years going forward. I think this notice says 3 years, but we're working on 5 years with the opportunity to renew for another 5 years. And so that's huge. And it's huge in a big way. It's huge because those dollars are not coming down. You can really use them as core dollars, which is often the hardest money to get. It's not like these dollars are telling you what you have to do to get the results that you want. It gives you the flexibility to do that, to design your programs, craft your strategies, and then align the dollars to match. We haven't had that in a long time. Often folks are telling us, I'll give you the money if you do my program. In this case, the results are driving the funding. So having a strong results framework that's in the implementation notice, you'll see 10 results, 20 indicators. Having a strong data platform across the country so that we can tell our story is a huge lift that we've now gotten beyond. If you think about the Promise Neighborhoods Institute at Policy Link, our job is simply to provide the technical assistance, do the public policy work to make sure the program is successful, try to create the movement around this work, to put on like the event that we just did in March, which is to bring leaders together so that we can accelerate their ability to go back and get results on the ground and that they can learn from each other. And then to make sure that we can hold results nationally. So right now in the network, there are 51 communities. And we have now 82% of the 51 communities agreeing to use a common data platform across the country. Now that may not seem like a big deal, but it is a huge deal. First of all, it's hard enough to get 1 or 2 communities in your community to want to share common data platforms. It's harder at the national level, where there's a lot of, the trust issues are harder. But also, it's harder if we don't do it because we can't tell the results story in a way that is credible. And so, for the first time, a community change effort is coming out of the gate with a strong results framework, a common way of sharing data definitions, sharing protocols of how we'll put data into a system, and a way that we will report out, in a way that allows us to control the narrative. And the exciting thing is that data platform system isn't owned by the federal government. It's owned by the network. So the Institute purchased the licenses, gave them to the network owns their own data, but we're saving the network $2 million annually. And we're able then to go to Congress and tell our results story in a quantitative manner and a qualitative manner. That's a big deal. If you look across the other initiatives in the country, they're not behaving this way, folks, and that's the big deal here. If you look across the country right now at the other large-scale community change efforts, you won't find a stronger results framework. You won't find the increase in federal funding. You won't find the network across the country organizing in a way that you can really say, they're organizing in a way that you can really expect to get collective impact across the country, not just in a couple of communities that are high achievers and then everyone else is going to be left behind. That's the promise of promised neighborhoods right now, is that we're not looking just to have one community doing well and everyone else is kind of struggling across the country, but to figure out how do we take the best from every community out there, share it across the network so that we can accelerate people's ability to get results, hold each other personally accountable for delivering on those results, and then, at the end of the day, attract additional private sector investment to this work. So the last piece of the Institute's role is to make sure that, in addition to the great private sector dollars that you have here and the local match that you have, where we can, that we are attracting national private sector dollars, whether it be from the foundation, or Google and Facebook and other places like that are looking at promised neighborhoods, so that we can lift up this work, so that we can tell the story about success, and then that we can continue to replicate it across the country and scale it up. So that's really what we have an opportunity to do today, which is to plan on how do we move from planning to implementation, focused on results, focused on the tough questions that we often avoid. How do we pay for this work? How do we share the accountability for this work? And then how do we hold each other accountable when things get tough and still maintain our capacity to continue to move our agenda forward? That's the exciting moment that we're in today. And I ask that you just think about that as you go forward, and that you have this opportunity to continue to lead the country in reversing the cycle of generational poverty. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael.